of ages clear for me. Let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from thy riverside which flow be of sin, the double cure, cleanse me from his guilt and power. Nor the labor of my hands can fulfill thy law's demands. Cool my zeal, no respite, no, cool my tears forever flow. All for sin could not atone. Thou must save, and thou alone. Nothing in my hand I bring, simply to the cross I cling. Naked come to thee for dress, helpless look to thee for grace. Fall I to thy fountain fly, wash me, Saviour, I die. While I draw this fleeting breath, when my eyelids closing death, when I soar towards unknown, see thee on thy judgment throne. Rock of ages, clear for me, let me hide myself in thee. Amen. Video 49. Solution 7. Gold-backed African currencies and a single African currency. Africans or African countries need strong national or hard currencies that can stand confidently in the midst of international currencies. African currencies like CD, Naira, CFA, etc. are not internationally convertible currencies. They are too weak in relation to foreign currencies of the world powers. Their exchange rates range from hundreds to thousands to the dollar, euro, or pound sterling. African currencies are not traded internationally like the so-called hard currencies of industrialized nations. Secondly, they are not a store of value. People trade in international currencies and keep them as savings because their value is expected to rise in the long run. African currencies are not like that. They are not sought for speculative and safekeeping purposes, as their values are always declining. African governments encourage their peoples to keep foreign currency accounts, which is like storing gold. This they are overvalued these overvalued foreign currencies and the overvalued African currencies breed inflation, discourage local savings, and encourage borrowings. You need a wheelbarrow or basket full of local currency to exchange for a pocket full of foreign currency. The oppressive exchange rate is caused by import dependency and obsessive taste for foreign goods and foreign loans, cartelizing and racketeering. The exchange rate system means that a European or an American doctor, engineer or professional is worth 100 or 1,000 times more than his African counterpart. A restaurant dishwasher abroad earns more than African university professor. The functions of money in any society are a unit of account, a medium of exchange, and a store of value. The last function of a store of value is highly flawed in Africa, as the people cannot save because the value of the money is declining. As a result of this situation, some less developed nation citizens, particularly in Latin America, are inclined to keep their money in foreign currency denominated or domiciliary account called currency substitution, or price their assets in foreign currency, asset substitution. When the monetary authorities recognize this, it is called partial dollarization, or the use of dollars in the local currency as a means of exchange. All these are the results of attempts to evade exchange rate fluctuations. Countries in Latin America like Panama, Ecuador, and El Salvador have attempted full dollarization, a complete abandonment of their country's currency to the dollar. This removes three powers from their country's central banks: A. Lender of the last resort; B. Currency printing to shore up the economy, particularly lending to commercial banks in distress; and C. The control of interest rates. Monetary policy powers are relinquished to the American Federal Reserve Bank, a form of neocolonialism and promotion of worldwide single currency. West African countries in ECOWAS are increasingly being pushed to have a single currency, which will become local appendages of the dollar and euro. However, both the euro and the dollar do not have direct gold convertibility. They are all fiat paper money whose values are guaranteed by the economic might of these world powers, that is the United States of America and the European Union. Gold, silver, and diamonds are what gives money real value from ancient times. In Europe, for instance, paper money issued with gold backing made it authentic and gives confidence to currency holders. This is the history of money in Europe, particularly Britain. In ancient times, many countries keep their gold and other treasures in their temples, and these are the usual targets of invaders. Second Chronicles 16 and 36. Isaiah 38 and Jeremiah 52. Later in Europe, gold keepers began to issue paper notes in exchange for gold stored by customers. Since the paper became acceptable as legal tender, it can be used for buying and selling, and it was a profitable business. Government took over the issuing of notes. That was the origin of paper money. Increasing profits were made by lending with interest rates ahead of the amount of gold in custody. After that, by the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944, all nations of the world through their central banks were expected to link their currencies to the American dollar, and the dollar was linked to gold. Only governments can recover their monies in gold. individuals could not. Since 1971, and in order to be able to print money recklessly, create money from thin air, and to make it grow faster than leaves from trees, and to prosecute the Vietnam War, President Nixon removed the gold backing of the dollar. In his time, as earlier said, European countries could currencies could be exchanged for some amount of dollars and dollars for some amount of gold. By removing the gold convertibility, the dollar became merely a paper or paper money recognized by the countries using it. The Europeans and Chinese have accumulated trillions of it in reserve. If the major world powers refuse to recognize the dollars, it will come crashing down. To protect their economies, the euro and the yen were being used for international transactions to bypass the dollar, even though oil can only be bought in dollars. African countries have swallowed the partial truth that the value of their currencies can only be determined by the amount of dollars they receive from exports. It's true to 50%. True, and certainly they should export since it modernizes the economy. But more importantly, they should also strengthen their currencies with a continental African mechanism. Muammar Gaddafi of Libya was said to have been thinking in that direction. For instance, South Africa, Ghana, Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC), whose combined deposits of gold and diamonds is unarguably the largest in the world, should begin to refine and stockpile their gold and diamonds to create an African monetary union with a gold-backed single currency, and African countries can tie or link up their currencies to it. The African single currency should be or could be likened, if it is done, to the euro or the special drawing rights (SDR) or special money of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. African countries' currencies can be linked to it. After a certain period, if they choose to, they can abolish their national currencies and adopt an African single currency. The gold window of this African single currency may not be open to individual citizens, but African governments may have access to it. The gold convertibility will make Ghana, South Africa, and DRC to become some of the richest countries in the world. Also, this measure will make the exchange rates of African currencies to improve and stay within the range or bound or ratio of 1 to 10 to the dollars, that is like $1 to 10 cedis, to stay within the ratio 1 to 10 to the dollars, pounds, and euros, and not the current scenario of $1 to hundreds and thousands of the African local currency. Secondly, industrialization will be pursued to satisfy the needs of the people first and not the export market. The DRC is one of the world's largest supplier of tantalum, cobalt, diamond and gold. Today, thieving guerrilla fighters in the civil war, in collaboration with the European Mining Corporation, had robbed Congo of its potentials. It is indebted to the IMF, who is calling for the liberalization of the mining trade, a euphemism for more foreign control. Dollars is priced like gold. Dirty black dollars and new ones are almost objects of worship. Tons of DRC francs are exchanged for a pittance of dollars. This is a nation whose untapped diamonds is estimated in trillions of dollars, and the people weary of a worthless currency are thinking of full dollarization. Oh, Democratic Republic of Congo, who bewitched you? A nation whose diamond, tantalum, gold, and cobalt reserves all put together is almost limitless, is today a very poor country whose national currency is almost worthless. The gold deposits of Ghana and South Africa are in the hands of foreign corporations, similarly to the oil of African oil-producing countries. Using the words of Apostle Paul, Congolese people, Africans who bewitch you. African countries with oil like Angola and Nigeria, who has oil and mineral resources, can tie their currencies to this African currency. Instead of going to the IMF and the World Bank to borrow with high interest rates, they can use this African bank. They can also engage in trade by barter. Oil, gold, or mineral resources can be exchanged for whatever the countries need to import, and thereby bypassing the exchange rate problem. Firms obsessed with importing spurious things should source their funds elsewhere without depleting the country's or national supply of dollars. In African countries, their central banks are the only or sole suppliers of dollars in the foreign exchange market, with many buyers. The supply is fixed while the demand is inelastic. That is, they can buy at any price. Buyers, particularly those not industrialists, can buy at any rate. They can buy dollars, pounds, foreign currencies at any rate, thereby lowering the value of the local currency. They resell this foreign currency to those who truly need it, thereby making a profit called round tripping. USA, Russia, China, Italy, Germany, UK, Canada, and many European and Asian countries store metric tons of gold in their central banks' vaults to back up their national currencies. Below is a table listing European, Asian, and African Arab countries in terms of gold holdings to back up their national currencies. Gold holdings, this is a table now. Gold holdings as a backup for national currencies in 40 countries. This is a report of 2017. 1. USA. Gold holding in tons 8,113.50. The gold share as percentage of foreign reserve 75%. That is, the gold holding is 75% as percentage of foreign reserves. That is, they are holding gold as a percentage of their foreign reserves. They are not only holding dollars, even the USA. How can African countries be holding only dollars as their foreign reserves when the USA is holding gold at 75% of its foreign reserve? Germany, gold holding in tons 3,375 tons, 69.6% as percentage of foreign reserves. IMF 2,804 in tons, percentage as foreign reserve. Gold shares percentage of foreign reserve non-available. Italy 2,451.8 tons, 68% as percentage of foreign reserve. France 2,435.90 tons of gold, 64.9 as percentage of foreign reserve. China 1,842.6 tons of gold, 2.4% as percentage of foreign reserves. Russia 1,706.8 tons of gold is holding 1,706.8 tons of gold, 17.1% as percentage of its foreign reserves. Switzerland 1,040 tons of gold, 6% of foreign reserves. Japan 765.2 tons of gold, 2.5% of foreign reserve. Netherlands 612.5 tons of gold, 66.5% of foreign reserve. India 557.8 tons of gold, 60% of foreign reserve. European Central Bank 504.8 tons of gold. That is the European Union now. That's holding the euro. It's holding 504.8 tons of gold in its vault, and it is 27.7% of its foreign reserve. Turkey 441.3 tons of gold, 17% of its foreign reserve. Taiwan 423.6 tons of gold in its vault, 3.8% and it is 3.8% of its foreign reserve. Portugal 382.5 tons of gold, 55.9 as percentage of foreign reserve. Saudi Arabia 322.9 tons of gold, 2.6 as percentage of foreign reserve. UK 3110.8 tons of gold, 8.4% of its foreign reserve. Lebanon 286.8 tons of gold, 2.3%. Spain 281.6 tons, 17.6%. Austria 280 tons, 49.7%. Kazakhstan 275.4 tons, 36.8 as percentage of its foreign reserve. Belgium 227.4 tons, 36.6%. Philippines 196.3 tons, 89.7%. Venezuela 187.5 tons, 65.8%. Algeria 173.6 tons, 6.2%. Thailand 152.4 tons, 3.4%. Singapore 127.4 tons, 2%. South Africa 125.7 tons, 8.5%. Sweden 125.3 tons, 10.9%. Mexico 120.2 tons, 2.8%. Libya 116.6 tons, 6.6%. Greece 112.9 tons, 65.4%. South Korea 104.4 tons, 1.1%. Romania 103.7 tons, 9.6%. Bank for International Settlements 103 tons, percentage not available. Poland 103 tons, 3.7%. Iraq 89.8 tons, 8%. Australia 79.9 tons, 4.9%. 39. Kuwait 79 tons, 8.8%. Indonesia 78.1 tons, 2.5%. African countries are not on this table. It is true their central banks have some amount of gold holdings, but it is comparatively low. For instance, Ghana's gold holdings, a gold producing country, is 8.7 tons, while that of Nigeria is 21.3 tons. African nations should go on to have their own individual and collective. So according to this table, African countries are not investing in gold in their central bank vaults, and they are not increasing their gold deposit as a huge percentage of their foreign reserve. They are holding a lot of their foreign reserves in either in dollars or in IMF, SDR, or in euro. They should hold their foreign reserve in gold. So let me continue. African nations should go on to have their own individual and collective investment banks. Nations like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, who collectively form the acronym BRICS, BIRCS, an initiative to provide an alternative to the Bretton Woods institution. Also, China is said to be buying gold to make the yuan, is trying to buy more and more gold to make the yuan gold convertible in the international market. If the yuan becomes gold convertible, many countries will not recognize dollars anymore, and it will jeopardize the America's economy. America will not be able to pay the Chinese debts with its dollars, and it will jeopardize Chinese economy itself because America is owing China. Let's leave that aside. Faced with the steady rise in the price of dollars, African Cushites are exploring the local currency Chinese yuan swap deal, which will enable African importers to bypass dollars and have access to Chinese yuan to import from China at concessionary rates to import Chinese goods. This is substituting Chinese colonialism for Euro-American colonialism. They are trying to make China the latest African colonial power. Ghana, Nigeria, DRC, Botswana, South Africa need a God-sent Moses, Joshua, or David that can start an African monetary zone or an African monetary union, not the foreign-sponsored one and the imperialistic one like the ECOWAS monetary union or ECO or ECOWAS single currency. Only African Christian Zionists can accumulate capital and use the existing oppressive platform to their own advantage. It is not necessary or advisable to start with an African single currency like Gaddafi did. This will anger the world economic powers. It is better to work within the system to beat it. What Gaddafi was trying to do at the continental level can be done at the national level. Let African countries begin with strong local currencies backed by gold. Then they can later go on to repeat it at the continental level. However, it is the European Union that is proposing the ECOWAS single currency ECO. African countries need to take the initiative away from the European Union. Thank you very much for watching this video. May God bless you as you do. Continue to subscribe to it. May God bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.